Hey guys, it's Jamie here from 3D Scan Store. So I've had a lot of questions on Facebook and Instagram with people asking me how do you transfer textures from the scans in our store onto a sculpt or your own model. So in this tutorial I want to show you a quick way of doing that using ZBrush and Wrap 3. We're going to be using two models for this. The first one is our HD head scan, which there's a few of them on the site. So the one that we're going to use is this guy, Male01. So he's got loads of details, loads of skin details, lots of nice spec maps and normal maps, but the actual ZBrush file itself has also tons and tons of detail in it. So we can have a look at that here. Just turn off the texture. So these are the kind of details that we want to transfer over onto our sculpt. And these HD head scans are made by Salim. He does an awesome job on these, creates like really cool versions of our scans with lots of super mega high detailed skin pores. And for the mesh that we're going to transfer to, we're going to use Roger McGreeny's awesome Ronnie Dio likeness sculpt that he did. So he's very kindly lent me this model. So if you want to go and have a look on his ArtStation, it's well worth checking out. He does all sorts of cool stuff. So we've got the two models. We've got here the sculpt without any skin details on it, just the sort of raw kind of likeness sculpt. And then we've got the scan. So what we want to do is, or what we're going to do is basically transfer this over onto this. Well, actually, more to the point, we're going to wrap this model onto this model and use the topology from our head scan so that we can then use all the maps and detail from this model. So what we first need to do is align the two heads, and I've kind of already done it here, so they're sort of in the same position already. Maybe just tweak this a little bit, just move them. So it's kind of, I always try to line the eyes up so they're almost exactly the same. I think it's worth pointing out as well, when Roger made his model, he didn't use the scan that I'm using. He used a different scan from the store. I think he actually used this guy. So just for the sake of being different, I'm using a different scan. So once we've got the two scans kind of aligned and in the same position, you want to export these to as an OBJ so we can load them up in Wrap. So we'll export the scan, and we don't need any of the eyes or anything. We're just exporting the raw scan or the raw head. Well, it's not raw, but the actual retopologized geometry as the lowest subdivision level. So we'll just export that as scan. And then for the sculpt, we want a bit of detail. You don't need a huge amount because we're only really following the forms. So maybe like a level 3 export. So we'll just export that. Just call it Dio. And then we want to jump into Wrap. So I've already loaded that. So in Wrap, for people who haven't used it before, it's a node-based system that basically allows you to wrap one mesh on top of another using markers. So we'll need to load two nodes first of all to load in our geometry. So load, save, and load geometry. And the first one we want to load is our scan data, which is this dude. And then the second one we want to load is the actual sculpt itself. So there we have them. I usually turn the wireframe off on these, on the sculpts, so you can kind of see the details. And with this, it's quite handy to actually have the texture map on here so we can see where the areas are that we want to sort of push and pull when we're wrapping. So we'll just go into load and we'll load an image, and we'll just, it doesn't need to be high res for this, so I'm just going to export the ZBrush texture. Just call it face diffuse. JPEG's fine at this point because we have the high res 16K maps as part of the HD head scan in the folder. So we'll just load that in here, face diffuse. So there we have it. And now what we want to do is create some markers that are going to push and pull this mesh around to match this one. So we'll go to alignment, and we will go to, oh no we won't, we'll go to selection and select point pairs. Cool, and then we'll just rename these. We'll call this scan, we'll call this sculpt. There we go. And it's worth noting that the scan should always be on the left and the sculpt should always be on the right. You want the object that's going to deform on the left hand side. So we'll plug these two into the select point pairs, and then from here we can start actually selecting points. So we'll go into the visual editor. The shortcut for that is just E, and the first thing I always like to do in here is to turn on the sync views, which, as it says, syncs the views. So now we can start selecting points. So we'll just select sort of, you know, areas around the eyes. And then I'll just sort of do some on the eyelids as well, just top and bottom. And then you want to get this fold as well. I mean, this guy's got quite a pronounced fold, so we'll just sort of stick some points in there just so we can get that. It can be quite tricky when he's got such a hooded eye, but we'll see what we get. End of the nose, bottom of the nose. And then we'll just sort of do the lips. So it's quite important on the lips to have the texture switched on the scan model, so we can actually define where the actual lip starts, because it can be quite hard to see that without the texture on there. I'll just do a few more on the lips. I'm using the mouse for this because tablets, if you've got a bit of a shaky hand, it can be quite hard to get the points accurately. Just on the chin and then under the chin here. And then we'll just do some on the ears because we want to wrap those. Oops. It's alright, getting ahead of myself. There you go, should do for that ear. Just do the same on the other side. I realise I'm doing these a bit sporadically, but I've done them that many times. Cool. And I mean, that should really be enough for, you know, to get decent wrap. You could put more around the eyes if you wanted, but we'll probably fix those a bit later. Well, no, let's put a few in, just to get it a bit more accurately. Again, it's very hard with this hooded sort of eye that he's got. I might get rid of this one on here. There we go. I think that'll do. Oh, we might want to also put some on the inside. If your sculpt has a mouth bag, it's probably worth putting one, you know, just on the mouth bag, just to pull it into position. Now what we want to do is exclude some areas from wrapping, so we don't really want to, you know, wrap these eye bags because usually they screw up quite a bit when you try to do that. So I will just use a polygon selection mask, and I'm going to plug that from the scan into here, and I'm going to select loops around the eyes, try and get the same on each side. And the way I get the inner eyes is by selecting those loops and then doing a grow, just keep clicking it, and then shrink it down again once it's filled the inside of the eye. And then you should start to see you get a nice selection mask. Something like that will do quite nicely. Now we can start the wrapping, so we'll just go to alignment and wrapping. and we'll plug the selection mask into the polygon selection mask, the point pairs into the point pairs, and we'll put the scan into the floating geometry. And this is why I was saying earlier it's important to have this on the left, because for some reason if you have these mixed up and you try and plug this into here, it doesn't work. So always keep the scan on the left, sculpt on the right. And now once we've got all those points defined and the polygon selections, we can just hit compute and it will wrap the models, hopefully. Okay, doesn't take very long. Now you can see there's areas that have really screwed up here, particularly because of that hooded sort of eye. So there's quite a cool way in Wrap of fixing that. You can use this geometry brush node. So we'll just keep it in Visual Editor, and in the brush node you want to put your wrap geometry into the first one and your sculpt into the reference. And now what you can do is you can use these relax project brushes to sort of smooth out the awkward polygons. I usually ramp the opacity right down so I can really see what's gone wrong. I can see there on the mouth, there's some stuff there that's definitely gone a bit wrong, but we'll fix that in a bit. So we'll just sort of smooth out these areas where it's all a bit tight. Try and fix this area up here. You can see here the loops aren't necessarily following exactly what we want, so we can use this move project tool and just kind of move the loops to where we want them. It's a really cool tool, this, really helpful. Sometimes it creates some little problems in here in the inner eye and stuff, but you can just go in and just using the smooth tool just to sort of fix that a little bit. Let's just shift the same as it is in ZBrush. And then we'll just fix these little areas here. And again under the chin there. And then on the ear, yeah, there's some problems here where it's sort of gone a bit haywire. We can just use that relax project. As long as it's not too far off, it tends to work pretty well. Just check the other ear. Yeah, you can see it's not fully grasped the wrapping there on the ear, but relax project fixes that, no problem. Because we're going to do a smooth on a project in ZBrush, this doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but obviously the more accurate you get it, the better. Check the inside of the nose. It's all right. So we might be able to fix this bit here. I'm not sure, it looks a little bit. I'll probably just use the move tool. You can put this on geodesic distance so that hopefully it won't pull the bottom part. Just get the relax project back on, and then should be able to get something pretty good there. You can turn the texture on to see what it's doing to the textures as well. So it's always worth checking little areas like this, where on the scan you have the fold in the nose line there, and just using the move project tool just to put that in the right position. It's not bad anyway. Cool, so that looks pretty good. So now we can export that. Once you finish with the brush, you have to click this apply button, otherwise it doesn't actually apply the changes at all. So we'll just hit that. And then to export that, you can either right click and save geometry, or you can create a save geometry node. So we can just do save geometry, choose where to export it. Just call it wrapped. when you're back in ZBrush, what you can do here is you can now just import your wrapped model over the top, and now you have a wrapped version. The great thing about this is it's using the scan data, so we've got the scan texture, but not only that, we've also got all the details from the scan, all the high-res sculpt details. My computer eventually displays it. So yeah, there you go. You have all the nice high-res details from the scan on your model. So you'll probably be saying, well, it doesn't really match exactly this mesh because it's you know, it's using only a low-res cage, and we've got some weirdness with the ears here. So in the next part, we're going to project this but keep all the details, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Right, so in this next section I'm just going to show you how to keep all these details from the sculpt that you've done and not rely on the details from the scan. So what we need to do essentially is put all the high-res details from this scan onto a layer. So the way to do that is we will create a new layer. And basically what we need to do is smooth all this stuff away. So we'll just drop down to like level 5 probably. And this is going to look a bit heavy-handed, but it works. Just make a massive brush, and I'm literally using the mouse here full pressure, and just smooth it all away. Just go up a subdivision now. I mean, I could have done this on the high subdivision to start with, but it's it can take a long time. Basically, it's a lot quicker to start on a lower sub D, smooth the forms down, or smooth the details down even. Computers die. And just finally on the highest subdivision, do one more smooth pass. Right, so there we go. So basically what we've got now is a layer that has the smooth version, and if you turn in the layer off, we've got the version with all the skin detail. But we don't actually want it that way around, we want it the other way around. So we want it when you turn the layer on, it shows the skin details. So the way that you do that is you want to store a morph target when the details are on, so store a morph target, and then you want to turn that layer back on so we've got no details, and then you want to bake that layer. And remember, we've still got all the details stored in the morph target here, so we'll make a new layer and we will switch to the detail morph target. There you go, and now we've got a version where the skin details are, when you turn it off, they're off, and when you turn it on, they're on. So we'll just name that skin details. And now what we can do, because we've got this on a layer, we can turn this layer off, and we can make a new layer, and we can project this onto our sculpt, so we can get all these details that are actually in the sculpt. And then what we'll do once we've done the projections, we'll just turn that layer back on, and then we'll have all the nice skin details plus the details from the sculpt. So we'll just set the sculpt as the background. We'll go to subdivision level 3. And I always store a morph target when I'm doing projections, just so I can fix stuff afterwards. And we'll just go to project, project all. And then you'll start to see that we're starting to get the details from the sculpt now. But obviously there's been some errors where it's projected a bit weirdly, so this is why I save a morph target. So I'm just using the morph brush here just to go in and sort of fix these kind of weird projection errors that you get. Let's put it on double-sided. So I'm just using the morph brush. Oops, I've got it all there. This is a good little trick for just doing projections in general. It's quite handy. And again, you know, I'm not being like super careful here. I'm just trying to demonstrate the process, really. Let's check that other eye. There we go. So now we've got, we could do a projection on a highlight. Oh, there's some weirdness on the ear there, so I'll probably just use the Z project brush just to get that right. A few little tweaks, nothing major. Yeah, so now we could go up another subdivision level and do another projection. Just to get even more of that detail, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to show you on level 3. So now what we can do is we can go back up to our highest subdivision, and we can go into our layers, and we can switch back on our skin details. There we go. And now we get all the details from the scan, with also the details from the sculpt. As well as that, we get the texture. So then you've got a fully texture mapped, detailed head. And again, I mean, I'm using a relatively sort of older guy here, so you know, he did have some lines and things like that, but it's just a case of, you know, going in and sort of sculpting and you know, fixing areas. And again, this guy's eyes, you know, they weren't perfect because they were a bit you know, a bit hooded. But that's generally the process for transferring skin details and textures from HD head scan onto a sculpt. And also you can now use all the maps, because we're using the HD head scan texture maps. You can use all the texture maps that are supplied, like the spec and normal and roughness and reflection, transmission, all those maps that are supplied with the heads. You can easily just use them now to, to render this head. So I hope that's been useful. It's only a brief and very quick sort of rundown of how you do it. You can obviously spend a lot more time and a lot more care doing it than I just did. This was literally, you know, 20 minutes of me sort of messing around. And it's worth mentioning that once you've got the 3D Scan Store geometry, if you're using that for your head and you've wrapped it onto your mesh, you can actually use any of our textures. So I can just demonstrate that. If I just load a texture, any texture from one of our, I don't know, let's have a look. 3D Scan Store heads, let's have a look, where are they? Animation ready head scans, textures, I don't know. Final models, male, I don't know, let's just grab a random guy. 14. Textures, JPEG, color 8K. Oh, it's a very old guy. Might look a bit weird, this one. But yeah, you can use any texture. So we can import another one. Let's try, I don't know who these guys are, so here we go. Yeah, so you can use any texture now. And likewise, you can use any of our head scans to for this process. It's just the HD head scans, I'm just using these because they have so much more detail in the textures than the you know, the sort of retopologized ones do. So there's quite a lot of them. There's about 100 in total. But yeah, that's it really. So I hope it's been useful. If you've got any questions, just email me, Jamie at 1024, or drop me a Facebook message or Instagram, whatever you like. Okay, cool. Thank you.